What are the long-term economic consequences of a lockdown? This is the question everyone wants to know, and we are in day one of lockdown 2.0 here in the UK. Tier 4 lockdown throughout the country. All non-essential services are closed, including gyms, which is why I'm running in Victoria Park today. I love this park. Get here if you can. And I was lucky enough to have Professor David Miles on the show today, and he is a former employee of the Bank of England. He actually worked on the Monetary Policy Committee, who are in charge of basically running the economy. He also worked at Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch. He got a CBE recently, and a very knowledgeable guy. And he went to try to break down the economic consequences of a lockdown. And it's something we don't talk about a lot. We talk about the lives lost, and we talk about trying to eliminate the virus, but we don't really think that we're going to pay for this all down the road. And no one ever quantifies it, or no one wants to actually talk about the cost of a life. But let's talk about it, because that's what David talked about today, and I appreciate his honesty and bravery in talking about that. You know, according to the NHS's own protocol, if they are about to provide a service to someone, a medical service, and it's going to extend their life by 1 year, they will not pay more than £30,000 for that treatment. If the treatment is over that, they will actually not allow that treatment to happen. So that is a massive organization. I think it's the largest single employer in the world, non-military, and they make those decisions every day with our health here in Britain. And so that's a pretty good number to hang on there as far as what 1 year of one person's life is. Now, let's say you take someone that's going to die of COVID, who are usually in their 80s, and let's be generous and say they had maybe 10 years of average life expectancy. It's probably more like 5. If you really want to quantify that, and again, I'm just doing this as an exercise because, of course, we want to minimize the cost of lives, but also people die every day, and we want to find out what is the cost benefit of shutting down an entire country to save lives. So if you multiply that times 10, then one of those lives on the outlier would be quantified as worth £300,000. And if you take 1,000 of those, that's £300 million. And 1,000 a day is what they were projecting to be happening today. It's actually much less than that. But if you think about that cost of £300 million, that's just for the people that died. We're not talking about the cost of depression because of shutdown, of the economic consequences of unemployment, all of those other costs, which are probably tens or hundreds times that factor. But when you just think about the loss of lives, does it justify the economy being closed down, which is costing us £1.8 billion per day? The answer is it doesn't come anywhere near it. And so one of the things the professor said today was, if this lockdown goes on any more than 30 days, and he was being generous at that, he said it just no longer makes sense because we cannot afford to be locked down as a society. And he made a great comparison. He said, look, if we tried to save everyone in the NHS, we would spend 98% of GDP on health costs, and we would be bankrupt as a country. So he said, we make decisions every single day, even from the speed limit. Why is the speed limit 70 miles an hour? If it was 10 miles an hour, there would be less lives lost, but we know no one would ever be able to get anywhere. So we make some place in between. And that's what we have to make now, a decision to try to quantify the actions we're making, as opposed to just panic and be emotional and lock everything down, when we are all going to personally pay for this coming down the road. And we are going to pay in many ways. We're going to pay for the furlough program. We're going to pay for the economy contracting by 14% of GDP this year, which is unheard of. We're going to pay for potentially 13% unemployment in Q4. We're going to pay for the mental health, for the depression. We're going to pay for everything. And it's something we really need to have a hard conversation about. And I was really privileged to have him on talking with me today. So leave your comments below. Tell me, is this macabre, as the professor said today, to talk about death in such an analytic way? And should we have an economist on the SAGE Committee of Scientific Advisors speaking to our Prime Minister, so he's not just talking to epidemiologists and scientists, he's talking to someone who can actually quantify the impact? Because we all live by economics. We all do. Our health service, our government, our economy, our salaries, the prices of our foods, it's all economics. Our life is ultimately economics. And if we don't think about it this way, we're going to make knee-jerk emotional reactions, just like we all have with our finances, right? That thing looks really pretty, let me buy it. Let me buy drinks for the whole bar, right? It all sounds like a good moment, but you have to pay for it later, and you realize that's a wrong decision. And we need to really think hard about the decisions we're making now, because the long-term ramifications are dire. And I just gave you one factor of that, which is the cost of those deaths, not to mention all of the cost of the businesses going out, of the jobs being lost, mental health, our lost generation, Generation COVID, and their bleak looking future. So leave me your comments below. I know these are hard questions and hard topics to discuss, but that's my job, to get out there and have these hard discussions. Let me know your comments. Forward this to someone if it's important. And again, let's move forward. Let's ask hard questions, and let's find some way to save this economy, save this country, and make the best decisions. Thank you very much.